I think one of the biggest frustrations is for people who are creating multiple presentations that need to look sort of similar but not exactly the same. And that can actually be solved beautifully with a template that's properly built. The problem is nobody knows how to build a template properly. Nobody teaches you how to do it.
Everything leads to growth with the National Association of Sales Professionals. The Leads to Growth podcast with the National Association of Sales Professionals provides in-depth discussions sharing the best sales, prospecting, influence, and communication skills, as well as sales training techniques to take your professional sales career to the next level.
Great day, y'all. Welcome back to another Leads to Growth podcast. Excited to be back with y'all again. We've got some awesome guests. This is actually our second time recording this podcast. We had so much fun the first time. We're like, we're just going to save that one for ourselves and do another one, right? I have got Camille, Holden, and Taylor Croonquist. Did I say that right? Croonquist. There we go. Croonquist. Okay, I was close. All right. All I remember was Taylor Swift from last time, so I was sticking with that one.
Awesome. She's my spirit singer.
I love that. So Camille, Holden, and Taylor Croonquist are the co-founders of Nuts and Bolts Speed Training, a PowerPoint training agency that helps professionals save time and gain peace of mind. As expert trainers and coaches, they are passionate about empowering people who are short on time but big on ideas. I like that concept. With the tools to truly master PowerPoint, create presentations that work and make it out of the office in time for happy hour. This is the most important thing. And beach time. I've seen you all getting your beach time over there too. With the past careers in consulting, investment banking, and corporate communications, Camille and Tyler now run their business from the beautiful island of Bali. Oh. And I wish we could do this interview outside next time. And they plan to start a family later this year. And I don't know how much we talked about that last time, but that's exciting news.
Yes.
Yeah. We're still thinking about a good time and place to do it, but it's in the books for this year. So we're really excited about it.
Someone told me something, there's never a good time for anything, so just go ahead and have it. So have fun. So tell me, Nuts and Bolts Speed Training. So first off, I'd love to hear a little bit about your story because you seem to live the life that everybody is trying to live. You found a great way to make money and to live your lives the way that you want to live them in the places that you want to live them. I see pictures of y'all on the beach, getting your work done, and you're helping people all over the world in such a valuable area. I mean, now more than ever, we have more entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, all these different businesses starting up. And sharing those ideas and concepts is communication, right? And how do you relay something that's in here and not out there yet to a group of people in an effective way? And obviously, people learn in different ways. Visually, orally, kinesthetically. There's a lot of different ways for people to communicate and learn. Bringing in PowerPoint presentations just seems like a need now more than ever for more people than just the typical people that have been using it in the past. So tell me first off, how did you end up living this amazing lifestyle, and how did you get to become the PowerPoint geniuses that you are?
So Camille and I actually met working abroad in China. We lived in China for about 10 years. And there came a point where we were tired couldn't stand the pollution in China anymore. It was a wonderful, wonderful city, wonderful culture, but we just were ready to leave for the pollution. And, our business idea kind of stemmed from, we wanted to leave China. We didn't know where we wanted to go. So we came up with this crazy idea that we should speed date cities around the world for at least 2 years. So that's, by our definition, is picking a city and moving there for 2 to 3 months to check out the scene, and then rotate to a new city with the goal to find the next Beijing, because we loved Beijing for all the years we lived there. And then to kind of marry that with an idea, we both used PowerPoint regularly in our companies. We were training people in PowerPoint. We developed a bunch of hacks, tips, tricks, workarounds that people had never seen before, which later the Microsoft PowerPoint team hadn't even seen before. And so we just kind of set out and said, we're going to create this online advanced PowerPoint training website, and we're just going to work on it as we speed date cities around the world. And then 2 years became 3 years. Then 3 years became, we moved to Bali and didn't want to move around the world anymore. And we've been here for 2 years and just extended out for a third.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Like short.
I love it. That is the short version. I think I heard the longer version last time. But so I love the fact that y'all just decided to go travel, right? How did we get to the fact that, I mean, I see you have some successful careers prior to traveling the world and being PowerPoint geniuses. What was the the trick, other than just the Beijing pollution? Was there anything that decided to make you decide to leave corporate America, or was it just the change of scenery?
I think we were both separately feeling quite frustrated with our jobs for a number of different reasons. But I think we were also, as people who moved overseas, who went to live in a completely foreign place, we were always sort of adventurers and people who liked the ability to have freedom. And certainly my job was very limiting, and I wanted to go travel and take time off, and that just wasn't an option. So we were both separately thinking about even just switching jobs. So that all kind of coincided at the same time when we're already not super happy with our current work and we want to leave China and travel. How do we make a corporate job work with living some crazy nomadic life? And then this business idea came to us, and it all just kind of beautifully made sense all at one time.
I love the perspective that you brought to the table there. Like no limitations. Far too often I talk to people and they're like, well, I can't leave here because I have my job here, or I can't do this because of this, And it seems like when you guys decided to make this shift, it was, hey, let's go and figure this thing out. And knowing that there were many options that it could turn out to.
And I think another interesting thing to add on to what Camille said is when we first started out, again, the goal was to make it around the world for 2 years. It wasn't to start the next Apple. It wasn't to get finance startup. It wasn't to have an office. It literally was, can we make something fly that we can work on anywhere in the world for at least 2 years to buy our tickets, finances, time, whatever. And if at the end of those 2 years, it just finances to that point and we have to go back and do different jobs or other jobs, that's fine. So it's a very, again, short window that we saw. Then it worked for 2 years, then it worked for 3 years, and it's still working. And so we're still working, still a cool project, and we like connecting with people.
It's amazing too, because you solidified it down to our strengths. All right, what is the thing that we are awesome at that everybody else that we fill a gap for? What is our strength, and how can we use that strength to help other people? And I think far too often. Oh, go ahead, please.
Sorry, it was also born out of a frustration. I think in our previous jobs, I was using PowerPoint at least daily, and I was using it in pretty critical environments, pitching new clients, presenting reports on our past work to clients, presenting internal meetings. And I would sometimes be at the office. In my PR job, I could be at the office until like 1 a.m. or something like that on certain weeks. And so it was a very important tool for me at my job. And I found that there was first of all, I got no training in PowerPoint at all. It was like, here, take the thing, and you're expected to become a wizard at it. Right. And then I was looking online, and there just really wasn't anything out there that was really helpful, that was practical for someone who was either advanced or for someone who had needs for it that were different than just very basic levels. And so we found that there was nothing out there, so we had to just figure it all out on our own. And so what we ended up creating, that first course that we launched was really just sort of an answer to that frustration, was trying to tell people, okay, you don't have to do it the way we did. Like, we learned it trial by fire. We learned it at 1 a.m. Some of the tricks we came up with at 1 a.m. because it was just like, oh my God, get me out of here. So the idea was to create something that could be beneficial to people that we didn't have when we were looking for it. Really
cool. Yeah, I just love the concept of the forming of an idea and how something comes to be. I think far too often people, oh, this has got to be it, or this has got to be it. And you kind of just fell into it a little bit. You saw the opportunities, you rolled with it, you tried it out. You had I would imagine you didn't have a whole lot of expectations. Like, let's see if this will work. And if it doesn't, we're going to go off to the next thing. And that's a huge
business plan.
And we did think about it a long time, but to your point that you just said, we again, the goal was to trek around the world for 2 years. And so we from the very beginning, we said, if PowerPoint doesn't work for whatever reason, and we think it should, but if it doesn't, we'll just take whatever skills we learned in that first attempt and try to pivot to something else. But we didn't really have a fallback idea other than Excel, but that was kind of just me because I was always Excel and PowerPoint for my job roles.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's just a commitment and a decision. You know, you all made a commitment and a decision to be successful, and then you went out there and took a risk that made it necessary, right? You can't just not be successful out there traveling the world. You got to find a way to make things happen. And when you do that, when you create that gap in your life, you know, I mean, just to relate this to salespeople all around the world, you know, far too often salespeople don't want to stretch themselves. You know, they'll make their goals 10% bigger, or they'll try to just do a little bit more, or prospect a little bit different. Instead of setting a gigantic goal, throwing themselves out there, and then allowing the genius to come and being flexible to the way that you're going to get to that outcome. So really, thank you for sharing that piece of the story. So let's talk a little bit about this PowerPoint. So tell me a little bit about PowerPoint. Y'all have some stats on PowerPoint. First off, how do you figure something out that PowerPoint people don't already know? How does that even happen? And
you try to break PowerPoint is sort of is one way to look at it. You know how you have, when you create a new software, you have people out there who test it with a goal to try to find all the bugs. We weren't necessarily doing it with the intent to find bugs, but inevitably some of the things we try to do, because we're good at troubleshooting, so we're like, well, there's got to be a better way to do this, or surely you can apply that rule to something totally different, and then you try it and it doesn't work, or it works in a way you didn't expect it to work, in a way that the designers had never designed the program to work, and so they would just, no, it shouldn't be able to do that, and then you show them and they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that, which is kind of cool that you can do that with software in the first place.
It's very cool. How long has PowerPoint been around?
Since it was 82, I believe, 82 or 85. Initially, it was a software that was designed mostly to deal with the issue of transparencies and slides being so ineffective and not cost effective. So it was very expensive and sort of expertise-driven field. So these big companies would have sort of a Xerox expert or someone who was a transparencies person. They were graphics teams, and it wasn't something that was very accessible to a lot of smaller businesses, and even for the bigger businesses, it was just too time-consuming. And so, Robert Gaskins created this software to address that problem, and then eventually it was bought by Apple, and eventually then purchased by Microsoft, which is why it's a Microsoft product now.
Very cool. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to also say the other cool thing about, PowerPoint, everyone talks about they want to, lock down this feature or lock down that feature. And Bob Gaskins, when he made it, he was like, I want it to be able to do anything. This isn't to build slides, build a poster, build a movie thing, build a this, build a that. And so the actual PowerPoint teams kept that around for all these years. There's all these things you can do in the program that make no sense, or you would think they wouldn't make any sense. Which is how we found a bunch of these, I wouldn't call them broken features, but like we would start taking PowerPoint features and using them backwards, and they would work. And the PowerPoint team would be like, why would that work from a coding perspective? I was like, I don't know, but don't fix it because it's really handy in this specific situation. They're like, okay, we won't fix that. Don't fix it. That's a glitch. Leave it. I love this glitch.
That is very cool. And so y'all must spend an obscene amount of time on this platform. I mean, I found myself even just using PowerPoint for cropping photos or doing little small edits and just resizing images. I find I use it for a lot of things that aren't necessarily slide presentations. I also read somewhere that there are 500 million users?
Yes.
On PowerPoint?
Yeah, according to Microsoft, there are roughly, I think it's 500 million Office users, or was that?
No, it's a billion Office users. 500 million PowerPoint
users. Yeah, what's fascinating, to go back to how PowerPoint was designed as a software initially, it was designed, as Taylor said, to be open and flexible. And what's interesting is you find now that, even though all of y'all are sales professionals, it's interesting that PowerPoint is actually used in so many different contexts. We have priests who make their Sunday Mass in PowerPoint. We have, the Army and the military uses PowerPoint to create, invasion strategies. You've got people making music videos. There's a rap music video out there that was made entirely in PowerPoint. Interactive games,
KTV sing-alongs,
karaoke stuff. So what's people love to hate on tools, right? They love to hate on PowerPoint, and there are a lot of very valid criticisms, and we're not necessarily just PowerPoint cheerleaders, but it is impressive to think about it in the sense of everything you can possibly do in it and everything you can achieve in it. And so we like to think of it as a super software, and that it allows people to do a whole bunch of different things, which is pretty neat.
Very cool. I read recently in an article, I think it was maybe even almost a year and a half old, in Harvard Business Review or something of that, and they were talking about PowerPoint and Prezi, and how PowerPoint is something not as good. I'm sure you've read the article or seen it, something about not as good for your brand, and that people prefer Prezi and these new software and tools that are out there now. What are your thoughts on this concept and perspective?
I mean, I've never
had a lot of thoughts on that.
I've never had someone tell me, send me your Prezi.
Yeah.
It's always send me your PowerPoint. I mean, that's a knock about Prezi. I mean, when I was still using PowerPoint for, like Camille pitch books and corporate clients and printed reports, and when Prezi first came out, and I think the first time I saw Prezi, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I'm zooming in, I'm doing this, and I think the second Prezi when I saw it, I was like, oh, now I'm seasick. Why are we going over here, and what's back up over here, and I was like, dude, just this isn't gonna work. I can't use it with my clients. So we just went right back to PowerPoint. I didn't even learn the software because all my clients wanted PowerPoint pitch decks.
The thing is, we're absolutely software or platform agnostic. We believe, because nuts and bolts are one of our big areas of focus is speed and efficiency. We want you guys to get your jobs done faster, right? So ultimately, we want to make sure that you're using the tool that is easiest for you. So if the tool that's easiest for you is Prezi, but it could also be Keynote, it could be Canva, it could be Google Slides. There are a number of platforms out there, and we think they're all great. They all have their merits, they all have their limitations. But whatever tool is fastest for you to use and most effective, I say that's fantastic. But if you're in a corporate setting, chances are most people continue to still know PowerPoint, have PowerPoint on the computer. It's just the tool that's the most widely available. Now, if you work for a startup and you've got some cool new, like the Google tablet that doesn't have any software, or if you guys are all working online and you need to be compatible with Google Slides because you guys are sharing so many things, then that tool is perfectly fine. But the truth of the matter, PowerPoint isn't going away anytime soon, and there's still a ton of people who are given the software without any training who need a lot of help.
Absolutely, and it sounds like Prezi, Canva, these other tools might fit into a small instance, whereas it's the Swiss Army knife is the PowerPoint tool. Like that's the one that you could always go back to and always use. So leveraging your time in our right, time is our most valuable asset. So why am I going to learn 12 different things when I could just learn one and be functional on that one and be effective on that one? That makes a lot of sense. What would you say the two biggest challenges that people face with PowerPoint are? Or the two biggest challenges that you help solve out there in the market? Maybe probably a better way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing we help people do, and again, keeping in mind that our flagship course is more for pretty hardcore users. I always say like at least 10, 20, probably even 30 hours. I mean, I use PowerPoint like 30 hours a week, it feels like. And so the first thing that we help those people do is basically use their keyboard for absolutely everything. So like there's 4 different flavors of shortcuts, and most people only know one flavor. And all of a sudden you take someone and you can basically fast track 80% of everything doing the program, just hitting keyboard and shortcuts, and they're just like, oh my God, I can build so many more slides, or I can pitch this many more things, or my God, I can go practice my presentation finally. So I think I used to call them keyboard jockeys, or I mean, whatever you want to call it, but it was like, that's like the first kind of huge time savings that we show people.
And the truth of the matter is, like, when it's like any job, it looks really glamorous from the outside, right? Oh, I'm crafting a presentation, and you might get this idea that you're storyboarding and you're going to tell this amazing journey of data and da da da. At the end of the day, what most of your time is spent is just click, click, drag. In PowerPoint, and I absolutely get people's frustration with the software, because like your mind is going at a certain speed and you're stuck there with the mouse, click, click. And so what we really try to do is to cut that in about a third, at least, of the sort of click, drag, menial or boring tasks they need to get done, but you can just do them so much more quickly and get that out of the way, so that yes, you can then storyboard, or maybe just find a better picture, whatever it is that you've now made the time for, when you're not just, and beyond this time savings, it's just also like mind numbing to have to be dragging things and clicking on things over and over again. So that's one of the biggest things I say we solve for people, for sure.
There's Yeah, there's nothing more tedious than struggling with some kind of animation that's the only one not working on the page and you have no idea why. And you're there for hours on end trying to figure that thing out. And you said something else that was beautiful too. Practicing the presentation, right? Far too often people spend all the time putting together the presentation and then they get up there and they're looking back at the thing, reading all the words, all these like shortcuts. And you figure like if you can give people 1/3 of the time back, if you can give them 10% of the time back just to put that towards practicing the presentation, the effectiveness, the output of that presentation and their influence has got to be significantly higher.
Absolutely. And I find that Taylor and I, or anyone who's taken our course, can actually create 2 to 3 versions of each slide in the same amount of time. So maybe you don't spend less time on your presentation, but you actually, each slide, you can make 2 to 3 versions and decide, okay, which one do I like best, or which one makes the message come across better. And so you have more of that flexibility to actually make your presentation more impactful because you're not there fighting formatting or something silly like that.
Yeah, I would call that 1 slide on the screen, 3 slides in the graveyard. Because when we used to build slides, for my boss and stuff, you'd be like, well, give me 3, 4 options. I like that one best. Okay, we're going with that one. The other 3 to go in the graveyard. But someone still had to build all the ones that are in the graveyard. So that's again where this, like Camille said, just being able to churn through layout options for clients, your bosses, your colleagues, your own presentations. Put your best foot up there.
I love that. Y'all like Spanish teachers. Like you teach a language. You teach people how to communicate in a language. I mean, it's really, really a beautiful thing because when you talk about that delay between creating in my mind and then being able to put it out there on the presentation, that I can only, the first thing that triggered in my mind was somebody who couldn't speak a language. Like I'm with a woman and I want to tell her this amazing thing, but I don't speak her language. Like having that struggle that between being able to communicate what I really want to. What a beautiful, beautiful thing when you think about it, like giving people an opportunity to really get out what's in their heart, mind, and really be able to communicate in an effective way. It's a lot bigger than just PowerPoint.
Right. And thank you for pointing that out. And I think what's interesting is you get people who say, oh, and now I can actually see how PowerPoint could be fun, which is fun is not a word almost anyone would use with PowerPoint, including us, to be honest. It's like work. But it's neat to see people sort of shift their perception of the software rather than being an obstacle, something that they have to overcome or fight, that it becomes a tool. It becomes an extension of their minds or their hands and allows them to build the things that they want to create.
Awesome.
I think another cool offshoot of that is you were kind of starting to point out is the way we kind of teach PowerPoint, like shortcut driven, strategically lining up tasks, trying to fast track things, batch tasks. Students take that. It works in Word. It works in Excel. We don't teach Word. We don't teach Excel. We don't teach Gmail. But once you start to get a keyboard driven mindset and you start to get this attitude of like, if I'm doing something 2, 3, 4 times a day, how do I shortcut it? How do I set up a shortcut? There's not a shortcut. Can I create a shortcut? Once you start to get into that mindset, can I use a feature backwards? You start, we've had students just like, I question everything now in every program I use on my computer. I'm like, what do we do most of our day as knowledge workers? Just use computers. So you start to ask yourself better questions about how you're doing stuff. And we're just teaching PowerPoint, but that just scales into everything else you do. Once you get that confidence, you go click, click, click. Oh, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
That whole hack mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All programs are hackable.
Yeah.
I don't know how to hack them all, but...
that's what I study the psychology all the time, and this is very hackable, very, very hackable. So you talked about one thing too. You mentioned about creating multiple slides for multiple examples of a single slide. Doing that, it seems like it might be a great idea to have some standard templates available. Could you tell me a little bit about that and maybe how you could help people with templates?
Yeah, I was actually going to say, because you had asked about two major pain points, and I was going to say I think one of the second big ones I think people struggle with is keeping things consistent and polished and sort of put together. And I'm guessing a lot of salespeople need to present material that is often quite similar but not exactly the same, right? So you might pitch a product to 3 different clients, and you're going to tweak the presentation to match the environment, right? Ideally, you want to, speak to your audience. And so I think one of the biggest frustrations is for people who are creating multiple presentations that need to look sort of similar but not exactly the same. And that can actually be solved beautifully with a template that's properly built. The problem is nobody knows how to build a template properly. Nobody teaches you how to do it. And the ones that you buy online are actually often what I call fake templates. They're broken. They're not actual PowerPoint templates. And this, to explain it fully, we need to get into the weeds of PowerPoint. But essentially what it does, oftentimes it causes more harm than good. What you're basically getting are these beautiful slides someone mocked up and they look perfect. But then the minute you start trying to add your content, copy paste other slides in and out, it just creates a mess of what I call a Frankenstein deck. And you end up with this terrible looking thing. So you go back to doing it all yourself, and then you're not using a template, which can save you a huge amount of time, but also keep everything consistent and looking polished, and like your titles will all be in the same place, your slide numbers will all show up, your colors and fonts will all be consistent no matter what kind of presentation you build. So I have a course actually that teaches people exactly the steps that you need to create a custom template, like your very own, with all the colors and fonts you need, everything you need in it, from start to finish. So I also have a YouTube series if you want to check out the YouTube series on how to create a PowerPoint template. It's a much condensed version, obviously, of what's in the course. But I think that's a huge pain point, that people just don't really understand what the template in PowerPoint is meant to do and how to use it, and then to use that knowledge to create your own, so that it really helps streamline your workflow.
I can tell you that I, up until about a year and a half ago, was creating every single slide individually on its own. And didn't even realize I could copy the slides at some point. It's in templating, I mean, especially if you're within a corporate structure, you want that alignment. You want that corporate alignment. So to have something that you can use, and that not only you can use, but you can uniformly use throughout your business and your organization, so that sales decks look like marketing decks look like everything else. That's a
and there's nothing more embarrassing to show up with a version of the deck that's like all the wrong colors, all the wrong fonts. You're not on brand. And when you're representing a product, a service, whatever it is, you need to be on point. I mean, you don't want to make a crummy first impression with a presentation that looks sloppy, or that it doesn't even look like it's from the right place. So that's definitely critical.
And if you take, it's almost funny, if you have a company that's been around for a long time and they've been swapping slides in between out of these different templates that people have tried to tweak, whatever, you can go to their slide master, they'll have 80, 100, 200 identical slides that are all different, and they have a different slide sitting on each semi-different child slide layout, but none of the child slide layouts they're ever tied over, and nobody knows how to fix it. And then just like, well, what slide am I actually, which of the 200 slides am I actually trying to fix? And so it's one of those things, someone doesn't go through and cull through all these child slide layouts. So
actually we go to a PowerPoint conference every year. It's a presentations conference. And we go there and we mingle with all the other PowerPoint nerds out there. And one of the funniest things that occurred is that they held a little competition to see who had seen the most slides in the slide master before. And I think it was Echo Swinford who wrote a book on templates, actually, that I admire. She said she'd seen 400 slides in the slide master, and it's just crazy. I think the person closest to her had been like, we owe 200 or 195 or something, but it's just crazy. And I think, you would assume that big companies have the bandwidth and the wherewithal to figure out how to do this, and they don't. I think almost as a small business owner or a medium-sized company, you're almost better off, because you're more aware of what you don't know that you don't know. And big companies sometimes will go off and they'll spend 10 grand, 20 grand to hire a design agency to build them a template that fails. I know a few people who were in companies that had encountered those situations. So you shouldn't assume that just because you're just a solopreneur or a small business that you are somehow worse off. You're probably better off, because you know that this is something that you probably don't have the knowledge to master.
Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much. This is some great information. And we've got a webinar coming up here on NASP that we'll be bringing to our audience, which will get out of the high level stuff and into some of the actual applicable things that you can take and save yourself some time right away. I'm really, really excited about putting that together and getting you guys out to our audience, because I know I'm already, and by the way, your website, nutsandboltspeedtraining.com has some amazing resources on it already too. I saw one of the documents with 80 shortcuts, and I looked at the first 5 and I had no idea of any of them already. So where else can our audience find you, track you down, and learn more?
I mean, we have a YouTube channel, so you can find us there. Just type in Nuts and Bolts Speed Training. You'll see our channel page, and I think we have like 150 videos or something up on YouTube now. Obviously, our website, nutsandboltspeedtraining.com, which we built in a knowledge-based format. So there's a big search bar. You can search for things. You can click around between categories. Trying to target kind of the bigger categories of things that people might get stuck with right off the bat. And we're always trying to figure out not all the fluff. It's just like, well, how do you solve it? Yeah. Like one of them's like page numbers. You'd think like, oh, page numbers should have been solved decades ago, and it was. But that's still like one of the number one search for things online is like, how do I get my page numbers to show up in my slides correctly?
There's still some funny things that you not expect. It's not intuitive that go wrong.
Yeah.
So there's like 5 layers of errors that you have to like kind of shift through before you feel like, oh, someone made this mistake eons ago and no one ever figured it out. And now I'm the person with the deck that's trying to figure it out. It's like, well, just get it fixed.
Awesome. And so aside from your upcoming templates course, which should be out by the time this podcast launches, what other programs do you have on the website that people should be aware of?
Yes, so our flagship course is called PowerPoint 3X. So that's all about 3Xing your speed in PowerPoint. It's really our most comprehensive course that takes you from, it will take you from either a complete beginner to a master to an ultimate Zen master. So it's I'm not sure if that's the appropriate metaphor, but
I like it.
Anyone can take it, really, but it's designed for people who use PowerPoint really frequently, because the benefits you get from investing in the course, like meaning the time and the practice, you reap a millionfold, but only if you use PowerPoint, more than like, oh, I use PowerPoint once a month, it may not be worth it. We also have a
casual user.
Exactly, not for the casual user. And we also have a course on how to take your pictures to the next level. So if you find cool pictures for your presentations, but they don't fit nicely into your presentation, Taylor has a cool course that shows you some tricks that you would think would only be possible in Photoshop, but actually are possible in PowerPoint. So that's called the Full Screen Visuals course. And then if you use animations, our amazing partner, Leah, also known as PowerPoint Spice, has a course on how to learn how to use animations like a master.
To create like spinning world globes.
Crazy
It's
cool
not just like bring your bullets on screen once. You can like take circles and make them 3D and spin globes around it. So you can be like, oh, we have an international company, and they have like a world spinning with like going all over the continents. You're like, what? And people are like, that's PowerPoint? It's like, yep.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Very cool. I think we might be getting on a couple of these programs ourselves over here, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time twice now and sharing your amazing story, and really, really looking forward to getting some of these, like the actual applicable things that our audience can take and really see some of the things that y'all are able to do. Cause I've been there on the website, on the YouTube page, and it's, I feel it's almost embarrassing how little I know and how many PowerPoint presentations I've done in the past. It really is. Like, I'm like, how did I get away with this? But also,
we're super excited to get to be on this webinar with you and show you, and to actually dive in and open up PowerPoint. It won't be much of our faces probably, but we'll actually get to open it up and show you some really cool hacks and tricks and things that you can apply to your everyday. So yeah, we're looking forward to sharing that with you guys.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Well, thanks again, y'all. Get back to the beach over there in Bali and get working on that kid. We really appreciate you taking the time, and this has just been awesome. We love y'all, audience. Thank you for being here today. Don't forget to like, comment, and share on these podcasts, and subscribe to wherever you subscribe to podcasts. And if you are not an NASP member, the National Association of Sales Professionals, do that today. It's free. What are you waiting for? We've got great tools on there. We've got Sales Mastery, which just launched. We've got our CPSP program, Certified Professional Sales Pro, also our Certified Professional Sales Leader. Just a great community of people to be around. And that's what you need. You need a level of community, a standard higher than you, so that you can step up and grow all the time. And that's what this is all about. Have an awesome day. Leads to Growth podcast. We'll see you again very soon.